Most tax pros leave a message.
It's Jane. I'm moving on to a TurboTax expert who beat your price. Adam Devine, tell him how I feel.
Hey, tax pro, she's been thinking twice. Best believe TurboTax will beat your price. This is a tax break.
Switch to a TurboTax Live expert and we'll beat what you paid your pro last tax season. Make the switch at TurboTax.com/beat your price. TurboTax full service only. Sign up by 12/20/2024 and file by 4/1/2025. Full details at TurboTax.com/beat your price.
This is Kristen Bell.
And Adam Brody.
And we're dating.
In our new show, Nobody Wants This.
Right. We're not really dating.
No, in real life, we're married.
Right. Married to other people, not each other.
Oh, this is complicated.
Right. It's just like our love lives in Nobody Wants This, a show about what happens when a bold and sometimes provocative podcast host finds her unlikely match in a sweet traditional rabbi.
You can watch every episode of Nobody Wants This now, only on Netflix.
Piece by piece.
Revolutionary artist Pharrell Williams invites you to Piece by Piece, a first-of-its-kind Lego movie event.
What if we told my story with Lego pieces?
Let's do it.
Discover what it takes to build the greatest hits with Kendrick Lamar, Jay-Z, Justin Timberlake, Pusha T, Gwen Stefani, and Snoop Dogg.
I was always a bad gangster, but you brought out the fun in me.
Hell yeah.
Piece by piece.
Get tickets now for Piece by Piece. Rated PG. Parental guidance suggested. Directed by Morgan Neville. Only in theaters October 11th.
Hey everyone, welcome to Spin Shuffle Skip on the There Can Only Be One podcast channel, a proud member of the Pantheon Podcast Network. When it comes to soundtracks, there was nothing better than the 90s. They produced some of the best albums for movies that didn't always necessarily deserve the best albums. But interestingly, the soundtrack that we're talking about today is from a film that, while it does qualify for It's Not That Bad, I am surprised that it qualifies for It's Not That Bad. We are talking about the soundtrack from City of Angels, starring Nicolas Cage and Meg Ryan. And here to join me, Lyle Robichaud from AM 640 Toronto. How you doing, man?
Doing fantastic. Very excited to get into this one. Anything Nicolas Cage related, and I'm in.
Well, it's interesting that this film, I am surprised that this film qualifies. I really am. This film is so good and so well done, and it's a borderline qualifying. It sits at about a 58% on Rotten Tomatoes. But when you hear the cast, of course, Nicolas Cage, say what you will, but this one, he's awesome. Meg Ryan, Dennis Franz, and the late Andre Braugher. This is a fantastic film.
That an all-star cast as well, especially of the time too.
I mean, part of it could be to the fact that it is actually a loose retelling of the 1987 film Wings of Desire by Wim Wenders. So I can see people sitting there going, "Oh, Nicolas Cage is going to try and rip off a movie." Don't judge it by that. This is a fantastic film and one of the better soundtracks of the 90s, with at least one song that definitely propelled one of the artists into the stratosphere when it came to pop culture. Whether you've seen the movie or not, though, the soundtrack, have you listened to it before this episode?
I haven't seen the movie and I hadn't seen the soundtrack but let me tell you something. This soundtrack, if it's any indication of the movie, has got to be pretty good.
Oh,
because
yes.
I discovered a song on this that I had never heard before that actually became my shuffle.
Oh, fantastic. Oh, I love when soundtracks do that because, yes, there's always going to be like the big song off a soundtrack. The one that gets played on the radio, like always, all the time. The one that it becomes sometimes bigger than the movie itself. But then there's those other songs from artists that you've never heard of before. You never would have had the reason to go out and search them out, and yet here they are. And in some cases, those songs are the best songs on the soundtrack. Yeah. And yes, very much the album definitely defines the movie itself. And there are some fantastic songs off this. But here's what we're going to do. We're going to take this album, this soundtrack, and we are going to pick 3 songs each: a spin, a shuffle, and a skip. The spin is the one that, it makes the movie seem that much better. The shuffle is one that's kind of in line with the movie, and the skip is one that, whether you like the song or not, will be the last song that you play on the disc. But let's get into this album. It was released March 31st, 1998. The album peaked at number 1 in Australia, Germany, New Zealand, Switzerland, and the US. It is 5 times platinum in the US, 7 times platinum in Canada, double platinum in Australia, and platinum in Japan and New Zealand. A lot of that can be contributed to 2 songs in particular. Uninvited by Alanis Morissette and Iris by the Goo Goo Dolls. Both of them hit number 1 on the top 40 mainstream charts. And yeah, Iris is probably the biggest song by the Goo Goo Dolls of all time. And I guarantee you that most people would sit there and say that would probably be their only one song if we did a Goo Goo Dolls episode. But that's not even like the biggest names on this album. U2's on this.
YouTube is on this. Eric Clapton's on this. That was my big surprise.
Peter
when I came to the
Gabriel.
party. Peter Gabriel, Jimi Hendrix.
Yep.
Like it's crazy. Like that's what I mean. When I got about halfway through this album, I was just like, okay, this has no right to be this good for something that I hadn't really had on my radar before. Like a lot of these artists I was more than familiar with.
Yeah. And you also have 4 score tracks from Gabriel Yared, and the score tracks are absolutely, this is one of those really gut punch of a scores for this album, because it's not a date film, dear listeners. This is not a date film. No, because you will not feel happy after this album, or at least after this movie, because
the whole thing has a very sad vibe to it. Like I said, from not having seen the movie and just listen to the soundtrack, I was kind of picturing in my head like something bad must happen somewhere, because like that is definitely the feeling you get from this, is like just uncertainty, sadness, like not a lot of happy-go-lucky feelings in this.
No, and no. All right, so let's get the party started for this episode. Lyle, off of the City of Angels soundtrack, what is your spin pick?
My spin pick was pretty easy, because this is one of the songs where I'm not going to give too much away, but I knew some of the songs going into it, and I knew what my skip was immediately from that list of songs that I knew off the bat. And I also knew what my spin was immediately, because it's further up on the road. Eric Clapton. It's fantastic. It's Eric Clapton. It's a fun bluesy beat. It's got the very Stevie Ray Vaughan vibe. That's if anyone wants to know my kind of music, if it sounds kind of like Stevie Ray Vaughan 70 bluesish, I'm going to love it. So I love this song, and I love Eric Clapton very much as well. Have some vinyl of his at the house. So yeah, it wasn't that hard to pick this one.
Well, considering we did an episode of the Steve Miller Band on There Can Only Be One, thanks to your suggestion, I'm not surprised that some of the bluesier tracks on this disc are going to be at least in your spin, if not your shuffle as well. The thing is, when I think of this movie, it's not necessarily the blues songs that come to mind. It's more of the more ethereal, more of the, it's a sad album.
Yeah.
There's no getting around this. This is a freaking sad album. Like, if you want a good time, don't put this album on, because this is going to depress the hell out of you. And in some cases, the blues songs get in the way of it for me, but I mean, it's also still very much a part of the movie as well. So I guess it depends on what aspect of the movie you're connecting to, which is why I think if we were ever to do an episode on the actual film City of Angels on It's Not That Bad, I think you and I would have very different takes on the film, because
probably by the sounds of it.
Yeah, because you would lean on that aspect, and I'd be sitting there going, all right, cool, but let's talk about what makes you depressed.
Yeah. See, that just isn't how I go about anything. I don't go in like, I don't even like watching sad movies, because it's like, why am I spending 3 hours of my free time watching like Marley and Me? Why would I do that to myself? I have 2-3 hours of the day free, and I'm going to watch a dog pass. No, I don't think I'm going to do that. Like,
yeah, it's not like you're going to sit there going, wow, it's a nice sunny day. It's the weekend. I got nothing on my schedule. It's glorious. The sunshine is out. Let's watch Old Yeller. No.
Yeah, I want to see sad Owen Wilson. I want to see sad Owen Wilson.
Oh, Why does anyone want to watch sad Owen Wilson? But still,
no one wants a sad wow. No one wants that.
No. But yet, one of the sad songs is my spin pick, but it's not one of the singles. It's If God Would Send His Angels from U2. Look, whenever U2 does a song for a soundtrack, they usually hit it out of the park. And of course, we have talked about them, with Batman Forever, because
yeah, we have.
Say what you will about that movie, but that song was a pretty damn good song.
I defended that movie to the death, and I will today. So
right, but the interesting thing is that this very much reminds me of that Joshua Tree, Achtung Baby era of U2, and songs like One and songs like With or Without You, but even more so on the almost ethereal side of things. And this is actually one of my favorite U2 songs of all time, and it would depress the hell out of me if we ever do a U2 episode and I can't pick this song.
This is one of the ones that a lot of my friends that are into U2 say is their best, that point to it. I've listened to a lot of U2. Weird fact that their big final live concert, supposedly that's like the end of their touring career, happened in Moncton, New Brunswick. On Magnetic Hill. And it was like this big thing that drew celebrities. Brad and Angelina were in Moncton, New Brunswick watching the YouTube show. Look it up. Guarantee you that's real. I didn't go because, unfortunately, don't hate me, I'm not a big U2 guy.
No, and I can appreciate that, because I understand that they're not everyone's cup of tea, especially anyone who had, iTunes back in the day and had a U2 album thrust upon you. Yeah, you don't get to get around this one. No.
Yeah.
You get it.
It's like, it's one of those things. I respect them. There's no band that I will be like, that band is bad and you should feel bad for liking that band. I don't believe in that. I did like the hate on Nickelback thing. I don't believe in that either. If they're at the point that they're at and they're as big as they are, they have to be good. They might just be not my cup of tea. So much respect to both Bono and The Edge. Fantastic artists, just not my cup of tea.
I think for this song, though, it's especially in the bridge. And you got this like whole build up, and then you got Bono going, "Where do we go?" And then it stops. By the way, I'm sorry, I just sang really, really badly. Please don't hold it against me. But you get to that bridge, and then it just like build up, and then lets it hang, and then the groove kicks back in. And whether you like U2 or not, you cannot deny that this song is well crafted, and again, fits at least one aspect of the movie, and really does set that tone.
Yeah. If it's the kind of movie where I feel like this must be the one that kind of is the main underlying theme of the whole thing. Like, this feels like the one they would revisit once or twice for like, because like, again, all I've seen is promotional material and the cast, but if you can feel a song out from an album, I would assume this is like the main title theme, quote unquote.
Yeah. And as well, too, anytime you take a quiet song and you put a really haunting echo on the vocals, like Bono's vocals on this song might be some of the best stuff that he has done for a soundtrack song, at least. I would love to hear this song with an orchestra.
Oh, wow. Yeah. It's amazing they haven't done an album live with an orchestra.
How
does Metallica have an orchestra, a live album, and U2 doesn't? That's a weird thing to think about.
They have 2 albums with an orchestra.
And both of them are awesome. Yeah,
you take a look at any band that has done a concert with an orchestra and recorded it and released it on an album. It is Alter Bridge has a fantastic album with a full orchestra.
Yeah.
Within Temptation has a full concert out there. Someone put it up on YouTube, and it is full with a full orchestra, and it is fantastic. U2, what are you waiting for? Are you waiting for that to get big? Because you're kind of there.
Yeah, really. Are you waiting for your big break, kids? Like,
make it happen. Make it happen now, Bono.
Ah, yes, the magnificent Trolley Sourbright Crawler, also known as Trollicus brightolus. The worm's captivating neon colour makes it an easy, gummy prey.
Trolley!
It's a surprisingly sour, invitingly chewy, Staggeringly snackable species unlike anything else found on this planet.
Eat me!
Delicious. Visit Trolley.com to shop now.
Trolley, eat me!
This is the sound of your ride home with Dad after he caught you vaping. Awkward, isn't it? Most vapes contain seriously addictive levels of nicotine and disappointment. Know the real cost of vapes. Brought to you by the FDA.
ABC Wednesday.
Y'all complain all day. We want books. We want paper towels in the classroom. Bet you want raises too. I'm still waiting on the paper towels.
Abbott Elementary returns with the new season.
We asked the district for more after-school programs. They gave us $50 for class pets instead.
Critics cheer. Abbott Elementary continues to be one of the funniest and most beloved shows on TV.
What y'all doing out there?
Taking bribes.
Proud of y'all.
Abbott Elementary. Season premiere Wednesday, 9:30, 8:30 Central on ABC and stream on Hulu.
All right, so now we get to my shuffle pick. And this is one of those situations where I was surprised by one of those songs that I had never heard before by an artist that I had never heard before. I'm going to go with I Know by Jude.
That's my I Know by Jude. That's it, right?
It's such a good song.
It is. I never heard of this guy in my life. The only Jude I know of is the Hey variety, like from the Beatles. So, yeah, I'm so glad that we hit the same wavelength on this because I'm just like, what is this? Who is this guy? Like,
yeah, here's an artist who has toured with the likes of Alanis Morissette, Ben Folds 5, Better Than Ezra, Tori Amos. Tori Amos. Oh my God, Tori. How was Tori Amos not on this soundtrack? But this song, it's not just this soundtrack that it's appeared on. This is how good the song is. It's also been on Dawson's Creek. It's been on Felicity. And every now and then a song does take on a bit of another life and becomes bigger than the release. And just going through it, there are a number of EPs and albums. So yeah, if ever the day came when Jude was an option to do an episode of There Can Only Be One, if we could find all the albums, why not?
It was one of those ones where, like I said, most of the other ones I'd at least kind of knew what I was getting into, but I was like, who is Jude? What is this? And I did not know that it had appeared in like Dawson's Creek and stuff but man, does that fit the bill.
Mm-hmm.
Like, man, is that so spot on. And like, you're right. It definitely could be one of those songs that finds a life of its own and almost gets typecast in some certain productions. And hey, good for the artist. If you can find something that lands that hard and fits a vibe so well that it becomes part of almost like a technique of filmmaking kind of thing. Cause like there's a lot of songs like that are almost like cheesy to the point when people use them. They use it as an in-joke. But yeah, incredible song to just come across in this album.
Yeah. And by the way, dear listeners, if you want to hear the songs that we are talking about, this album is available on Spotify. So if you go to our website and notthatbadcast.com and you go to the Spin Shuffle Skip page, hopefully where you're actually listening to this episode right now, on the episode page for this show that you're listening to is the playlist from this album. So go through, listen to the songs, and be sure to let us know in the comments below what songs would have made your picks, because there are some fantastic songs. I remember playing this album a lot when I had a Discman, and yeah.
I had one too.
It was the 90s. Had to have a Discman. So now we're both out of shuffle picks. So I'm going to go to you. What's your skip?
My skip is Iris by the Goo Goo Dolls. Because, man, is this song overplayed. And I don't know. I just never got it. It was in a lot of stuff when I was a kid. A lot of stuff. And every time I remember hearing it when I was young, I'm like, oh, it's the one that just has a guy whining. Because it's just like this. Oh, like that. It's just, I don't know. It sounds so stereotypical now because I've heard it so many times that as soon as I saw it on the album list, I was like, there's my skip. I hope I find something that is better than this. I knew that was probably my lower bar. So it was me. As soon as you started talking about Iris by the Goo Goo Dolls, I was like, oh, good. And that's the one that I put at the bottom. But Yeah, it's always been one of those ones I think I just heard it too many times and things. And it's to the point where if I hear it on the radio, it's like, oh, this is the song from that such a movie. And usually not really my vibe, the movie. So yeah, it's Iris by the Goo Goo Dolls. And I know I probably have several torches and pitchforks on the way to my home right now, but
Okay, so this is your My Heart Will Go On from Titanic.
well, I wouldn't, My Heart Will Go On's a masterpiece. So I can't say anything bad about Celine. In this country, we get our citizenship taken away. But yeah, My Heart Will Go On's a way better song than this. I just don't like the Goo Goo Dolls, I think.
Fair enough. And just to put it into perspective as far as being quote unquote overplayed, okay? So let's paint a picture here, shall we? The song you and I both picked as our shuffle pick, I Know, by Jude, on Spotify, currently at the time of recording this episode, has 2.8 million, almost 2.9 million streams on
That's
Spotify.
way lower than I was expecting, quite honestly.
The second most streamed song off of this album is Angel by Sarah McLachlan with 214.5 million streams. And it's not even close, the distance between that and Iris from the Goo Goo Dolls. 1.8 billion streams.
I had a feeling there was a B.
Yeah.
I was like, I think there's going to be a B. It's been so many things. It's on like every single, like, I remember those compilation CDs you could buy that was like, romantic hits or something. This was on so many of those. Like you'd see this on every compilation disc you could find that was like romance or rom-com movies or something like that. It's just, yeah, that tracks 100%.
And fair enough. If a song is completely overplayed and you're just kind of done with it, I mean, I still love songs like Black Balloon from Goo Goo Dolls. That's a fantastic song. It probably didn't get as overplayed. Well, let's be honest. I don't think anything's been as overplayed as far as Goo Goo Dolls songs go as Iris. Even Breaking Benjamin and Diamante did a cover of this song as well. So, and there are a few covers out there. I'm surprised that the second most played single off of this isn't Uninvited from Alanis Morissette, because it's a great song. I know personally, I think my favorite version of that song is the cover done by Red Sun Rising. Fantastic version of that. That doesn't stray too far from it, but maybe it's just the Canadian in me that wants that to, be listened to.
I was going to say, maybe we are a biased audience for Alanis, so.
Fair enough. You're going to hate my skip pick.
Oh, God.
But for me, it's Red House by Jimi Hendrix.
Wait a minute. Of all the things, hold on. I'm not mad, but I'm very confused. Like, how do you look at this track list in particular? You think Red House by Jimi Hendrix is a worse song than I Grieve by Peter Gabriel?
Let me clarify this one first. If I was picking from a song perspective, I probably would have ended up picking Feel in Love by Paula Cole as my skip pick. And again, not because it's a bad song. And it's nice to see Paula Cole and Peter Gabriel on the same album, because Paula Cole actually did tour with Peter Gabriel on the Secret World tour. And
Really?
She does Kate Bush's part during Don't Give Up so amazingly well. So if you get a chance to listen to Secret World live from Peter Gabriel, enjoy the Paula Cole. The thing with Red House from Jimi Hendrix is, on its own, as a song, it's a great song. But to me, it doesn't fit the movie.
I will say it was the outlier for sound.
Yeah.
That is true.
Like, this album is a vibe. It's an absolute vibe between the Gabriel Yared score and even a song like I Grieve from Peter Gabriel. While not his best song and nowhere near close to his best song.
And 8 minutes long.
I listen to Dream Theater. I have no problem.
I'm the wrong audience for that. I'm talking to the wrong audience for that.
Bring me the 20-minute song and I'm in. But the thing is, I Grieve fits the mood of the movie very well. And when I go into listen to a soundtrack like this, not necessarily a soundtrack like the Guardians of the Galaxy, where it feels like it's just a collection of songs that, while it does fit the movie, it also is just a collection of good songs. this album was the vibe of the film for me. And in that sense, Red House doesn't fit. I'm not saying
makes sense.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's a bad song. I'm just saying there are other songs that you could have put into this that I think would have blended well. You could have found something a bit more lower blues, slower blues. Red House was a bit too up for the down vibe that this album is bringing.
And that makes sense. That does. But I think it's because I love Jimi Hendrix. And I think it's an interesting choice that we've made here, because me going into this and not seeing the movie, I think has skewed my picks aggressively, which is an interesting little experiment.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If you don't know the vibe of the film, and I'm now curious, before I say this, when we're done this episode, are you going to go watch the film?
I would like to watch the film.
Yeah.
Absolutely, because hey, it's got Nicolas Cage. So immediately, that's my price of admission. I'm not going to be upset because I either get to make fun of him for being in one of his slightly stumbly performances, or I'm going to get to like him because it's a really good movie. And even though it feels sad with the picks on the album, it makes me feel like it's not the kind of sad that would be unwatchable to me. Feels like there's a good story to whatever this is. And I don't want any spoilers for the movie, because I'll definitely be giving it a watch.
Yeah. Nick, if you are expecting Wally's Wonderland from this, don't. This is the most subdued and painful Nicolas Cage performance that I can think of. It is so against type for him, and I don't know if you're ready for it.
I'm excited for it because I love that kind of stuff. So give me all of that.
And I think you're going to love Andre Braugher in this. He is fantastic. Yes, very much so.
I'm a fan. I'm a fan of that because I really like when actors that are known for one thing go off and do something completely different. I'm a big fan of sad Robin Williams movies too. Some of the better downtrodden movies that I'm into have a different character Robin Williams in them, and it's no coincidence because he does it very, very well.
Oh, Captain, my Captain.
Oh, Captain, my Captain. And August Rush.
But I think the thing is, if you don't know the movie and you don't know the vibe, then yes, Jimi Hendrix would be a pick. If you're into blues music, not a problem. And in a Jimi Hendrix episode of There Can Only Be One, Red House would definitely be a contender for a pick off of an album. But if you're going into this expecting to mellow, and then all of a sudden you get Jimi Hendrix playing some really, really good blues music, it's like, oh, all right, maybe I have to sit up. And then you hear Paula Cole again. Okay, now I'm back down, and it's okay. I think Mama, You Got a Daughter from John Lee Hooker and the Eric Clapton track, like those fit well into the vibe of the movie. Hendrix, while good, stands out. So it kind of sticks out like a sore thumb.
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense when you put it that way, but I just can't bear to give Jimmy a skip on anything.
Okay. Remind our listeners what your spin, shuffle, and skip picks are from the City of Angels soundtrack.
My spin is Further On Up the Road by Eric Clapton. That's with a bullet. My shuffle, and one of the gems I have found doing this podcast with you, I Know by Jude, and my skip is Iris by the Goo Goo Dolls.
And my spin is If God Would Set His Angels by U2. My shuffle is I Know from Jude, because again, gotta love deep diving these albums and discovering new artists. And my skip, much to Lyle's chagrin, is Red House by Jimi Hendrix. Lyle, thank you so much. Now, tell our listeners where they can find you out there, the interwebs, and what to expect coming up from you at 6:40 a.m. Toronto.
Well, I am on, just like you said, a show, Let's Talk with Danny Stover. My host, Danny, and I chime in with my little mini segments as well. You can find us on the AM dial if you're around the GTA, and if you're not, just look in the iHeartRadio app. We're brand new on there. Also brand new coming out. Me and Danny got the Let's Talk TO podcast, which is going to be very interesting. But we're not just covering Toronto. We're covering international news, Canadiana, stuff that's just fun for us. So give that a look up.
All right, Lyle, thank you so much for this. And to you, our listeners, you guys know the drill. If there was an album that you want us to cover on Spin, Shuffle, Skip, or an artist that you want us to cover over on There Can Only Be One, hit us up on social media at Only One Cast, or go to our website at notthatbadcast.com. And while you're there, make sure you check out all of our other shows and be prepared because at the end of the year, we're dropping another grading on a curve. Until next time, he's Lyle. I'm Jay. You guys are awesome. This is Spin Shuffle Skip on the There Can Only Be One podcast channel, a proud member of the Pantheon Podcast Network. Take care.
The Kimi Kato Show, featured on Pantheon Podcasts.
The Kimi Kato Show is a weekly exploration of Japanese pop culture in all its facets. Kimi and Jeremiah, as hosts, delve into various aspects of Japanese culture, including music, food, fashion, and film, offering listeners a comprehensive and entertaining look at what makes Japanese pop culture unique and intriguing. It is your invitation to Japan.
Hey everybody, I'm Dan.
I'm Doug, we're in the band Hoobastank.
Hi, I'm Takato Miyake, working for Suntory Global Spirits.
Hello, I'm Sincere from Yusenke.
Hello guys, this is Masata Kumi.
This is Chris Hart.
Hi, I am Sugizo. You are listening to Kimi Kato Show. Thank you.
Kimi Kato Show is brought to you by Evolve Entertainment Network, Pantheon Podcasts, and Radio Candy Media.